racing rides, people, and places. With your hosts, Brad Banshaw, Matt DeAndrea, and Aaron Hagar. New media for a new type of motorsport enthusiast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Shift and Steer. We're back. We're braving the cold weather, the fires in Malibu, and right now, Matt is literally sitting in his studio as the flames lick his back door.
Oh, that's not fun.
Malibu house.
That's weird.
And the flames are licking the back door. So,
I don't want anybody to lick at my back.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be pretty riled up. Oh, never mind.
It's
I don't know. I went to this one place in Vegas once, and I won't even try.
Yeah, Malibu's definitely taking a beating. I think Angola got evacuated and had to find like a hotel in the middle of the night. But I'm not getting it here. I think there's just like enough wind. Unfortunately, the wind.
Did you just get a flame?
That's an Amber Alert on my. I say Amber Alert, but it's
an Ember Alert or an Amber?
No,
Alert?
Evacuation.
It is an Ember Alert. It literally just said
Alert.
Emergency evacuation of Malibu.
Oh man.
That's,
Well, we used to live. Brad? It was not really across the street from Pepperdine, but right down the street from Pepperdine, if I recall, Broad Beach Road. Yeah, we used to live right across the street there. Dang.
I was more worried
I'm not getting
about the beach eroding when I lived there on Malibu than the fires.
I'm not getting like smoke and ash over here.
So it must be going north or out to sea then.
Yeah. But the winds are not helping.
The winds are gnarly. And let me say one thing. Welcome to the party, pal. This is happening. No, but yeah, the winds are gnarly, and it's we always got to worry about it at my house, because if you guys remember, it's been 20 years ago now, but we lost like 23 houses in my neighborhood once. And we back right up to the hills, and it doesn't take much, man. I got a fireproof roof and all that, but what happens is the little ambers can travel for miles, and then they go underneath your eaves of your roof, or we have those vents that go to our attic. And I often think I should develop something that like blocks, so you can like hit a button and block them off or something. But it's but then I'd be rich, and then I'd be, I'd have free time, and I'd probably go, I'm on the islands. I can't be doing shift and steer.
Oh, Brad.
Anyways, hey,
let me get to
Shift and Steer is brought to you today in part by Bond Speed Wheels, built street tough, made in America since 1996, and Bravago. Check out all the flavors like Chill Out, Sweet Freak, or Sucker Punch. It's the best. Get hard seltzer that tastes great. Bravago.
That's how you spell
Believer,
believe, guys.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
BLEAV. That's how you spell it.
That's right. You got to believe. It's believe, like you're leaving.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sort of, but without an extra E.
Without an E. Yeah, that's not even right, is it? Yeah, that's right. Well, you can Google it. So, hey, so Matt, Ford guy, Mustang fanatic.
Yeah.
How about the Nürburgring and the time that Ford, way back in August, but we just learned about it, pulled off with that car?
Yeah. So Ford Mustang GTD ran the ring in, what was it, 6:57? They wanted to do under 7 minutes, which would be a huge feat. Now, this was kind of interesting because around Monterey Car Week, when I was talking with Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, and he's very passionate about this, right? His plan for Mustang, and we spoke about this before. The reason why they don't have another halo car like a new Ford GT is because it's great for the brand, but it doesn't do anything with the lineup because there's no lineup of cars underneath it.
Right.
And he has his eyes so set on going after Porsche, or at least emulating Porsche to some extent, an American version. So if you look at the 911 and you have base 911 and S and turbo and GT3 and that's where the entire performance lineup is, and they take those cars racing. So
is that why we see these Mustangs constantly spinning out like they're a rear engine car and all the weight's back there? And
that could be driver error.
I think it is. Yes,
it's
I think
most likely driver error. But his plan of taking the Mustang platform and saying, let's stick with gas engine, let's keep moving this thing, and let's build in theory, a 911 competitor. Let's have a base model. Let's have, the Mach 1 or GT500 or whatever, in this particular case, Dark Horse. And then in the racing side, they have GT3, GT4. They wanted to create this lineup of cars that can compete in racing and have that trickle down to showroom floors. So going after the Nürburgring was super important to do it in the Mustang GTD and not just some halo car like a Ford GT.
And what's the nickname for the Nürburgring? The Big Green Monster or
the Green Hell?
The Green Hell, that's what it is.
The Green Hell. So which is interesting is I knew he was going after the ring, and I knew that they kind of wanted to go after sub 7 minutes, but I don't know. And it's funny. And they're like, we're going to do a documentary. We're going to film the whole thing. But I honestly didn't think they actually knew if they were going to beat it. Right. They were like,
well, there's no way to know till you actually go and do it.
Yeah.
I
mean, you could do all your calculations on paper, and it's like horsepower and weight and, the right driver and can it be done? And you can kind of get there and go, well, in theory, it can be done.
Do you remember those little cards they used to have in the 80s that you could put in the size tire you're running, and it was for the drag strip, and it would tell you what your ET should be?
Yeah.
My car never went 8 seconds, okay? It said it should.
Yeah, well, that also could be driver error. But you're right. Like, you could do the calculations, and you're right in that back then, typing it into some Excel sheet doesn't account for weather and traction and like how old the tire is. Like, there's so many factors. I mean, we've all been out to the drag races, and look how sophisticated they are now just in drag racing. They've got a weather station coming out and like air density and tire temperature and like all this stuff that they're doing at a level way more than just hitting it with the digital thermometer and going, hey, I think you should be fine. Like, it's so much more complicated than that. So they did it, and the accolades are well deserved. Like, beating 7 minutes at the ring is super impressive, and that's faster than a lot of other cars out there, like Lamborghini Aventador and I think 911 GT3 and probably several other cars. So it's impressive.
I mean, it's the first American car to ever do it.
Wow, really?
First American production car.
Wow, it's impressive.
Right. And now it's the fastest American production car around the ring. So listen, it's all self-proclaimed because there's no like official sanctioning body, I guess, for it. But if you can back it up, and then, yeah, sure, there's like a Wikipedia page that'll tell you everybody's times and how fast they were going. It's funny because I think they went out and ran like a 701. Like if it was 705, they were like, that's far off. But like 701 is like, we really just need like we need, like, and if a 699 would get it done, but I don't, whatever, 659 would get it done. But 657 and change is what they ran. And now I think they want to go back and better that. I think after they did it, they thought there was maybe a little bit more on the table there that they can do. But look, impressive, especially because as cool as the GTD is, that car is like 300,000, the base model. And then the aero package and the carbon package adds like another 100 grand. So it's easily 400,000. And then for to go, it's $400,000 for a Mustang with a GT500 engine. It doesn't even have a bespoke engine in it. It's obviously calibrated in a few things that are different. So when you look at it, they go, I don't know if it's worth 400,000. So they're going, the performance is going to back this up. And it really does have some trick stuff on it. The way that suspension is set up. But look, you see one in person, Brad. I know you got a friends that have ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the production car now in person. I've heard it fire up. Haven't been in it yet, but was there for all of that and got the walk around on it. And it looks like a Mustang on the inside. It's not like it's really.
I wonder if my buddy will let us take his to Nürburgring.
Yeah, it'd be nice. He could fly us all there. If he's buying the car, he could probably afford to fly.
He could do it, man. And then we'll go and we'll see who gets the lowest time. Wouldn't that be a great podcast?
It's somebody else's car around a track like that I've never been on. I'd be in that GTD running 14 and a half minutes.
I was just going to say, I'd probably be doing and here comes Brad, a minute 30. I mean, 1 hour, 30 seconds, it's like, yeah. I'm not wrecking this car, man. I'm not wrecking this car.
So like some guy is walking on the ring and he just passed Brad and he's pushing the lawnmower.
Little to the left.
Now, what do you think? Do you think there's some guys at General Motors right now going, no, we need to take a Z06 that's prepped and beat this car, man.
So here's the thing is I think someone on the Corvette team is probably going, yes, we should claim that.
Yes.
But whoever does it first gets all the
But someone in accounting is going, well, it's that car's already launched. So
yeah.
No, I mean, it was impressive.
It's cool and it's impressive because, yes, you can look at a car like that as a benchmark, some potential for what you can even do with your Mustang for people that take their car out racing. You can go, sure. Hey, I could buy a dark horse, drive it every day, and I could, get the Ford Performance Supercharger pack or whatever, and probably get to 800 or 810 horsepower. Yeah, you don't have quite the fancy, suspension and stuff, but
yeah, but then you could get that body kit that wasn't launched at SEMA and make it look like it.
I was going to make a joke, Brad, but I thought it was in very poor taste.
Well, I feel a little bad for the Street Hunter guys on not being able to have that car there because they committed to having it there.
Yeah,
and booted out, but also they got a lot of attention for it, and ultimately they're probably going to be able to sell that kit. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hey, speaking of attention, sorry, my dog.
Attention deficit.
My dog. It's his birthday today. It's his 4th birthday today. And he's very needy.
Happy birthday, Pesto.
But Pesto is very needy. He brought his bone. He brought 2 balls and what's left of some critter. And he wants to.
It's left of some critter from outside.
No, it's a stuffed critter. It's the ones that say your dog will never tear it apart.
Yeah,
he tears it apart in 10 minutes. So, but anyway, so if you hear the grunting and snorting and noises, that's what's sitting on my lap currently. But so. I didn't read the articles, but the new Jaguars. So speaking of marketing and all that stuff, so was it just kind of a ploy? I mean, we've seen the car, but were they just out to get attention? That's what some of the headlines are saying. Any guys follow up on that?
I think the marketing is now. It was just to get attention.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was reading.
Well, what do you think, Matt?
I mean,
success.
Yes,
great success.
I think the teaser for it worked. It got me talking, right? Like we said before, whatever it was last week or the week before, 4 weeks ago, no one was talking about Jaguar. And then a couple weeks ago, everyone was talking about Jaguar. Yeah. So it worked. Now, what they do with it, do they continue down that path of that image or what? I don't know.
Yeah, now, what's the final production car look like?
Yeah, supposedly they're not. Yeah. Oh, here's another bread box.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll we'll see how it goes. Listen,
Yeah.
every company, that's consumer facing is really kind of fighting for some sort of attention, right? Whether you're selling wheels or you're selling booze or you're selling cars, you're trying to get some attention that you don't just throw tons of money after, right? If you're, you know, if you're Honda or, you could throw $100 million a year behind an ad campaign. If you're Jaguar, I don't know that you can, especially
No,
now
not
there's
anymore.
only
They
one
don't have
car in the
Ford
lineup.
behind them anymore. It's we used to go down to Irvine, like when I was building the Jaguar for SEMA that year, and their beautiful headquarters. I mean, that they had Land Rover and Jaguar, and they had Aston Martin, and it was all Ford capital. It was all, and it was gorgeous. Now that's Taco Bell. That's Taco Bell's headquarters now. And
Yeah. Now Lincoln has a design studio over there, but it's not part of their, what I think they call it, the premium division or premium brand. You're right. It was
right,
like Volvo, Aston Martin, Jaguar, Land Rover, and
one
and
time
they
it was every.
divested all of that, and now they have Lincoln.
They have Lincoln,
Yeah.
but
I gotta say, Lincoln's a trip. I'll see one drive by and I'm like, what is? Oh, it's a Lincoln. It's like they're kind of obscure these days. I don't see them very often.
Yeah.
And when I do, it's like, oh, that's interesting.
they are kind of nondescript. You're right. They don't
Yeah.
have that distinction, that DNA that says Lincoln anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say one thing about Jaguar. I always Jaguar. Jaguar is that what they did and how they did it at Miami Art Basel was smart, because what they were doing and how they were, presenting with, that show down in Miami and the location and everything like that. So now they've just got to take it farther. So we'll see.
Yeah, we got to learn a lot more about the car. We got to start seeing the car in colors other than pastel pink and blue or whatever it was. And
Easter egg colors.
Hit the Miami launch, everything needs to look like a flamingo for some reason. But now let's see the quality of the car.
Miami. That's Miami Vice's hometown. So just watch where you trade.
Yeah, I love Miami Vice.
Okay, pal.
But Aaron, to your point about Lincoln, in Monterey, they debuted the new Lincoln Navigator, and it's nice.
Oh yeah, the interior is
really nice.
gorgeous.
And then after we talked to, when we interviewed Jim Farley while up there, we're like, you guys debuted the Navigator, and he was explaining that that when he first came on at Ford, Lincoln was a big part of what he was responsible for. So he's very proud of that. But he was saying that, Lincoln and other parts of the world, that's, the Navigator is what you get driven in. You don't necessarily drive it yourself. And in China, he said, it's just the work someone does, and then you go home, you could drive it or get driven. And then when you get home, before you even get in the house, he says that like relaxation mode, whatever, this sort of spa mode or whatever that the Navigator has, he goes, it's very common for people to get home and sit in the car for about a half an hour and
decompress
and just get the massage mode and decompress before you start that next phase of the day, right?
Before honey, I'm home.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that though. I've driven home before, very seriously, on a cold winter day, and sat in my car going, I don't want to get out. The heated seat feels so good,
Yeah. And now that you can recline the back so far, and there's a massage going on.
And I have to say, I felt that way today in bed. It's the first time in years that I just kind of watch the minutes tick by. Like, you know what? I could lay here a while today.
There's a term for that. It's
depression.
It's called bed rotting. You're gonna rot in bed all day. Yeah.
Oh my God, bed rotting. That's funny. Now, my wife is in the Czech Republic. The dog's keeping me up late at night. He is so needy right now, and so I haven't been sleeping, as you can see. I'm pretty beat. Brad's like, don't forget, we're posting these on YouTube. I'm like, great, eye cream sponsor.
Yeah, right.
And as a reminder, everybody, Aaron brought it up. You can now find our episodes on YouTube. So go to our Instagram page, find the link, and go check it out because you can see our ugly mugs. Not just hear us, but you can see us too. And how exciting is that?
If we care to.
Yeah, I know.
A bunch of middle-aged swollen eyes.
Well, no, I use the stuff that decreases it under my eyes. I put it on, and
I have to say, I was looking at it online the other day. Something popped up my Instagram, and I'm actually like, tell me more.
My wife, I know it's bad when my wife buys me stuff. She goes, "Here, try this, babe." I go, "What?" And she goes, "Well, it takes the swelling around your eyes." I'm like, "Oh, great." So now I'm wearing anti-wrinkle cream and something to make the puffiness go away.
Asking for a friend, are we?
That's like saying, "Honey, you're looking really ugly these days. Why don't you try this?"
You're so Hollywood, Brad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's called trying to not wilt away and just turn into this, but be one of those little old men that are walking around. So, hey, excuse me. Last Saturday, on the last show, I told you I was headed out there, but I went out to the Mooneyes Christmas show. Unfortunately, the very last one that will ever be held at Irwindale Raceway, because Irwindale is no more. It was the last event. It has had some stays of execution in the past, but this one is not going to happen. They are tearing it down. And like I said, high density housing, because who wouldn't want to live between two gravel pits?
Damn shame.
It's high tension lines going over. I was looking as I was standing there. There are more high tension lines because that was an area where it was like, well, we'll put them here because all there are gravel pits and there's some, things like nurseries and stuff. Now there's a shopping center and they're putting in high density housing. So,
wow.
But we got up really early. You talk about getting up early. I had to meet my two friends, Bader and Dave Merrick, up in Monterey. Excuse me, not Monterey. Geez, that would have been quite a trip.
Yeah, I was in the Lincoln Navigator.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I met them just above in another city. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Anyways, it doesn't matter. And then we all jumped into one car and drove back down to the show. And we got there. We were at the show, in the show, at like 7:30 in the morning, because that show is so big and there's only 2 entrances that we've gotten there before at like 9 in the morning, and you wait for like 2 hours to get in. So we wanted to eliminate that risk, and we did. We got there early. And if you listen to Man Seeks Adventure or the tidbits on this show, you know that Dave, at 7:30 in the morning, the first thing he wanted to do was visit the beer stand.
Oh, God.
And we come walking up, and Bader says, "Yeah, Dave's getting a beer." I said, "Yeah, Dave's getting a beer." And then he turns around like this with his hands holding 3 of the 40-ounce Modelo's. And I'm like, "Dave," and he goes, "I can't drink alone." And then I said, "All right, turn back around and get me a hot dog, because I'm not going to drink a Modelo at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday without something in my stomach." And he goes, "Oh, well, I had a breakfast burrito on the way, And, so we walked around the show sporting our Modelos, and I got to say, the show is fun, but it's a different type of show. It's not your usual hot rod show. First of all, you have vintage drag races, so there's a lot of cool vintage drag cars there. You walk through the pits, check that out. You can see them going down the strip. Then there was like 1 or 2 rows of some hot rods and muscle cars, but the rest of the show was, Aaron, you would have loved it. It was rat rods. It was patinaed cars.
Suedes.
Oh yeah, suede cars and there was a ton of vans out there, you guys. And these were like era. I don't know if it's a thing and I've just missed out on it, but
Like dragons and wizards kind of shit.
there were some of those. Yeah, you know, the chick with the polar bears on the chain leashes.
Old Frazetta.
Yes, but there was literally a row of
Wow.
these customized vans that were just like Ford and Chevy vans with the round bubble windows in the back, and they had them open.
Oh my
and they
gosh.
had the shag carpet.
Oh
and they had
my god.
the little kitchenettes in them, and the bed in the back, and it was cool, man. It was
Gallons of Febreze.
But
Yeah, I was
one
gonna say
of the
mothballs.
yeah. One of the coolest cars out there, I put up on the Shift and Steer Instagram page, if you want to go check it out, was this guy had maybe a 62, 63 Ford Galaxy police car. And
Yeah, that was
it
cool.
was all patinaed and weathered, but he had down the side of it, Tijuana Policia. And the more you look at the car, the more you see. I'm going to tell you that. The one thing I'll tell you is that the shifter was like an old horn off of an animal. And and that was just the start. There was all kinds. It was a fun car to look at. So,
it almost looked kind of like a Mexican rally car or something, right?
Yeah, it was cool. And
fun.
the headliner was decoupaged, like maybe they were trading cards or something, but they were all religious figures.
Oh gosh.
It was cool. It was really cool.
Wow.
But I'm sure it's not the last Mooneyes Christmas show, but the last one at that. They're going to have to find a new place. And Matt, I was thinking, where they could go? Maybe they could move it down to Knott's Berry Farm where they used to have the big Ford show. That's a perfect location for that.
Yeah, that actually brings up, where is Fabulous Fords Forever going to go? Are they going to go back to Knott's Berry Farm or find another location?
I don't know. Is it outgrowing that area?
Well, it was moved to Irwindale the last few years.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I bet they're going to go back there. I bet.
What else is in Irwindale?
Although that's a limited size parking lot, though. There, it's not because it's just
Irwindale had Formula Drift and quite a few things going on over there. I guess that's where the real estate becomes more valuable than any than the revenue that track can generate, and it just is. But I was having a conversation with Bruce Kenepa, and Bruce Kenepa is like, he put together, I guess you call it a committee called Friends of Laguna Seca. I believe that's what it's called. I don't know if he's like the chairman of it or whatever, but
because there's a track that you talk about in high net worth area.
Yeah. So that was the issue, is people were moving in and started to complain about the noise, and which is always kind of frustrating, because it's like, over here by me, there's Santa Monica Airport, and people buy houses and they put signs in their lawn that says no jets, cancel Santa Monica Airport. It's like, you moved in next to the airport. The airport was there first.
Dumbasses. Jesus, I hate that.
Anyway, so Laguna Seca had its issues, and the track needed significant investment. So they put together this committee. They formed a nonprofit organization to run the track, and they had to go and fight. Now, unlike Irwindale, Laguna Seca was, I guess, part of a military base or something. So it's a government-owned piece of land.
Yeah.
Yes, because as you leave, if you remember, there's all those signs that say, don't go out here because there could be unexploded
live ordnance. Yeah. I think that's all Fort Ord. Yeah.
So they put together their nonprofit organization. Their proposals. They pitched the courts, and they came out with success. They have a 55-year lease, and they've committed to investing $100 million, basically. Now redoing and fixing up a bunch of the stuff at the track, which you've already seen happening, repavement, new stuff being built, and then the maintenance and care of it for the next 55 years. But now with that lease and with those investments in the track, they have free reign to go and and solicit big events. So they're going to have all sorts of racing and IndyCar, and they're getting confirmations on all of those things. So unlike Irwindale, unfortunately, Laguna Seca is looks like it's here to stay, which is good because it was a little iffy for a while.
One very big distinct advantage that they have in Monterey is Motor Week, because Motor Week doesn't bring in just for the track. That is a hub that brings in so much revenue for that entire area, and it means so much to the area that definitely helps. And but no, that's great news, because we need Monterey, because you think of all the great events that are there, and if they bring in even more, it'll just be
now. So you mentioned Monterey Car Week. Now, I always enjoy that event. I think it's the best event we have every year, but you have to kind of be careful with that event. That event can price itself out.
It already has.
It's getting so expensive as it is. It's like you can't just keep looking at it and going dollar signs, dollar signs. Like at some point, you're going to price that out, and you're either going to get a significant drop in attendance, and hope. What happens is you keep raising prices, and you go, all right, well, we're going to have smaller attendance, but hopefully it's balanced out because we've doubled our prices for everything. Yeah. But at some point that plateaus, and you kind of have to reboot. And if you're super arrogant, I guess you could say, then you do it until the event dies, and then you just price it out. But if you're smart enough to get ahead of it, you need to find a way to go, listen, we're finding ways to cap the expenses, like the budget limits of an F1 team, right? And go, but we understand we're gonna cap the attendance for everything we do, and it's just gonna be sold out every year. But
the problem is that I went. The first time I ever went was in 99 was the first year I went. And it is so different than it was then, even up to about 2006. And then it exploded. You used to be able to go up there. There weren't crowds. There was 2 auctions. But then every auction company said, oh, man, that's where the dollars are at. We got to be there. Then every manufacturer said, we have to be there. Then every manufacturer said, we've got to have our own little area, and we've got to have our, own hosting. So now all of the resorts are booked up. It used to be the resorts were like, oh, welcome, come in. We want you here because you're a customer that we don't usually have this time of year. Now it's, we're booked up, and we've been booked up for a year. If you want a room, it's $10,000 a night. It's just stupid, and that's unfortunate for the event, because it's such a neat time, and
it is.
Are so cool. But
the only way it's going to work though is if the event coordinators, because there's a lot going on, right? There's the racetrack, there's Pebble Beach, there's the auctions, and they sort of need to have a committee, and if they don't already, where they all get together, and maybe with some of the owners of those venues and the hotels and stuff, and go, listen, how do we make this thing last? How do we make it profitable for everybody? But last, like, we can't have, like as you said, Brad, $10,000 per night hotel.
And that's what we paid for our last Airbnb. It was $10,000. That was stupid. It was like the problem is human nature and business. They're greedy, and they want it to. And the people who own the resorts are going to go, what do you mean, push people away? No, And
hey, we're getting it. So
it's like me. People are just going to start. I can't be the only one that goes, I enjoy going, but it's gotten a little crazy. And I don't mean just monetarily. It's the people. It's the, trying to get from one event to the other. You actually get so frustrated that it's not even any fun. Going to the cars.
You cap the attendance.
Yeah, the cars in Carmel. Where do you park?
Yeah.
That's just like,
you got to try to Uber in or something.
Merrick with his corporate driver and car that drops him off a block away and says, I'll call you when I'm ready for you to come back.
Yeah.
That's his problem.
I can hear Pesto snoring.
I know.
I know.
can
I'm
too.
sorry. He is out cold on my lap. He's
Hey, when you talk about frustration, sometimes it can boil over, and we'll talk about that right after we hear from our messages from our sponsors.
sponsored by No Doze. Sleep your stress away.
Doggy Doze.
Oh no, wait,
Doggy
No Doze
Doze.
keeps you up. Huh? See, I don't know. I don't take you this shit. Tylenol PM.
Yeah. Right, we're back.
For dogs.
No, you talk about going to a show or something, get frustrated, but how would you like to buy your Subaru Outback and then have buyer's remorse? And you call the dealership and they say, as is, no returns. Well, did you guys see the video online of the guy that did that in Utah?
He bought a used car, though, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't think it was a break. So somebody came in and bought a used car. Do we know how long he had it before he tried to return it?
It sounds like it was almost immediately, because the car was still listed on their website. It said it hadn't even been taken off their website yet when he tried to return it.
And so this guy signed all the paperwork, bought the car, and then I don't know, maybe he was leaving the lot. I don't know how quick it happened. And he's just like, I made a bad move. And he's like, I need to get out of this deal. And they were like, no, you're in it.
And apparently he called, talked to the salesman, and the guy said, the cars are sold as is. There are absolutely no returns. He goes, if you don't let me return it, I'm going to drive it right through the front doors. This guy, this guy is honest. He is not the type of guy who makes baseless claims and threats.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the video, he straight up drives that thing right through the glass windows. It's like a desk or something in the front. Gets out of the car and starts yelling. He's like, I told you so.
He's like, I effing told you so. And people are diving behind cars and stuff. And
well, clearly not at CarMax, because they give you like a month or something. It was like, yeah, if you don't like the car, you have X amount of days. I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is he no longer needs a car because he's in jail.
You know what?
What
he should have done is complained that, hey man, I know I was mad when I got out of the car, but I told you the brakes didn't work. That's why I wanted to return it.
Crazy situation. Look, I listened. I made bad purchases in the past. I didn't drive a car through a window, but
what's the worst thing you ever drove a car through, you guys? Let's put it this way. What is the worst
car
mistake car incident you've ever had? Like it could be in your shop. I'll tell you mine. That'll give you some.
Yeah.
I was my Suburban was brand spanking new. I had just taken it over and had came with the factory hitch, but I wanted a trailer brake and everything because I have electric brakes on my trailer. So I just had that all done. And I had my El Camino on my open trailer, and I pulled into my driveway, and I'm actually trying to remember exactly what happened and what the thing was, but I forgot to put the little latch down, right? And that locks to the trailer ball. Okay, so it was open. So as I pulled in to the driveway, because I loaded it on the street and then I pulled it, I got a half turn driveway and it jumped off. So I see the trailer drop and I'm like, holy crap. I'm envisioning that the trailer drops, the front of the car is going to keep coming and it's low enough, it's going to go under the truck and the front of the El Camino is going to hit the back. So I'm going to wreck my El Camino. I'm going to wreck my brand new Suburban. And what's the first thing you do? You go, I'm going to get out and stop it. Your mind does dumb things, right? I jump out the driver's door. I go running back to hold it. And Then I realized I didn't put my truck in park.
Oh.
So now my truck's going and it's pulling everything by the chains.
I was going to say the
It's
chains are
idling,
still attached.
and I'm chasing it, and I jump in and I try to put on the brakes gently so that because now the trailer is on the ground, it's going to stop itself. But if I stop too fast, I might, and I did. It came forward. The trailer hit the bumper and put a big dent. This truck was like maybe 30 days old, and I smashed the rear bumper, and I'm like, son of a bitch, now I got to get that fixed. But it was like Keystone Cops, it was like, oh, running this way, and then the truck's going, and my wife was standing in the bedroom window watching the whole thing happen. Of course.
Oh man, wishing she had a cell phone back then.
I wish she would have filmed that.
Oh yeah, that would have been
every
hilarious.
mishap I've had has been with the trailer, but little things backing into stuff. I had mine come off the ball with my boat on it and go through the back of my Ford Explorer. It's just nothing serious really, but I just ran into something. I ran into a yellow pole that it was just in a place that all three of my cameras couldn't see, and I just barely tapped the little taillight wing, because the taillights extend off the side of the trailer, and I just pushed it gently until it just bent. I mean, that was it, but that was the latest one. But yeah, it's always been trailers.
Yeah, trailers are
always trailers.
That's kind of goofy, negligent stuff. But you're talking about, like, how does it relate to this guy who didn't want his car?
We can't.
I haven't driven through any windows.
Financially, though, the new Ford Lightning that I have, because I ordered it, got like the 30th one. Between the rebates and the EVs crashing in market, like I owe almost double what that goddamn thing is worth. It's such a hit. And the only one that's worse than that is when I do CarCast with Alistair from Edmonds, and they bought a Fisker Ocean Launch Edition for $60,000
when it was new,
trying to sell it for $15,000, and he's like, "That's the worst financial decision they made." There, but honestly, if they're gonna lose $40,000 on that truck, I'm not quite there, but just like I'll get the email from, like, whatever you said, like CarMax or something, like, "Do you still have your truck? We'll give you $44,000 for it." It was like, like, I don't know quite double, but but I owe significantly more than that. I don't think I lost as much as Edmonds did on the Fisker, but we're pretty close.
I'm probably upside down on the Defender.
Yeah, I mean, I like the truck though, and I like driving it. And we had it at SEMA, and it's got some parts on it, so I'm not ready to give it up. But I just know at some point, it will have to go, and I'm just going to be so upside down on that goddamn thing. I'm going to have to buy it out and then sell it for, 1/3 of what I just paid to pay it off. So it's going to be one of those things.
A lot of people have bought real estate and go upside down, on it. Oh wait, you're talking about a car. That's right. That's right. No,
it's easy to do on a car these days.
Unfortunately, cars have gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
And now when we're talking about electric vehicles, and there was an article that was just out that Rivian, to this day, they are still $32,000 upside down per vehicle.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's almost half the, how much do those go for? That's almost half the price, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they start somewhere around there for a one. And they go up though. They go up from there.
Sure.
But I mean,
brutal.
You look at that, and it is brutal. It's hopefully it'll take a turn, and it's one of those weird things though, because like if Ford said tomorrow, we're not going to make any more of them. I don't know if that would make it more valuable. It might be like, oh, I don't want one of those. I don't know. It's weird. But you know what? 40 years from now, you could probably sell it for a killing at Barrett Jackson.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I wish, and then also it does make me a little nervous because I listen, it's a first gen EV F-150. I haven't had problems with it, but I still think it's only as good as its warranty. So
Yeah.
At some point, if I want to keep it, I probably got to end up re-upping on the extended warranty or something like that, because there's just too many anomalies. Like my Mustang Mach 1, my 21, right? It's only got a few thousand miles on it. It's already been 3 years. Ford's calling. They're like, "What do you want to do with the vehicle?" You can fully buy it out. You can buy the extended warranty, and I'm like, I don't know if I need the warranty on that thing.
Haven't you voided?
You know what happens though, Matt? You know what happens if you don't get the warranty? They send the code.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I got the warranty on the Jeep. I got the Mopar warranty recently.
I'm paranoid about that. I'm like, someday we're gonna learn there's this conspiracy that you didn't buy the extended warranty. We'll just. Okay,
that's why I pulled out the head unit.
I mean, really though, it's like, as you said, Aaron, it's like, well, I got twin turbos on it, so there's nothing that I'm going to be able to claim warranty on the engine. They're just going to claim everything on the turbos, even though
a tear on my shifter.
It's a good kit, it's a emissions legal kit, whatever. But
we know how the factories are. You'll be like, the window switch, I hit it, but the window only goes down halfway. Like it's you put those aftermarket turbo parts on it, and that causes the window motors not to work.
Right. I mean, aside from something catastrophic electronically, but you're right. Like windows, though. All right, so I got to bite the bullet, get a window regulator, or get something like that, or like there's nothing. While it's certainly nothing as complicated as my EV truck. If battery cells start going out or these thing bricks on the side of the road, you can't blame the wheels and tires or the tonneau cover, because I didn't do any other mods to that thing where it's going to affect, all of that stuff.
And that's what I did on the Jeep. Is I left the drivetrain, the frame, the engine. I left all that stock, all the cooling, all that stuff stock. Never touched it. And those are the big ones that are the possibilities. The frames crack on those. The engines,
because of all those aftermarket parts that you bolted on.
Actually, I've got even with Jeep, I'm well below the weight threshold, like well below the. I already talked to them, and I said, hey, if I come in at this weight, it's here. This is 600 pounds on the bed. They're like, oh no, you're absolutely fine.
Or you are within the confines of the gross weight vehicle.
Yes.
Where you put it on the truck,
yes,
voids the warranty. I'm sorry.
No, I know, right? But the transmission on those Gladiators has had some issues, and the differentials, and
adding the oversized LED screen that affected your transmission. So
right. I know they'll find a way. But I told them I listed all the mods, and there's a list of mods on there, and anyway, I was transparent about it. So
I saw a very interesting article that I read yesterday, and it was about a guy who bought a Mercedes wagon, one of the little sport wagons, and it had the upgraded performance package, which included 20-inch cast aluminum wheels. Now, he bought the car at a Mercedes dealership. It was 2 years old. It only had 30,000 miles on it. He said he drove it off the lot, and within a couple days, he immediately noticed that one of the rear tires had a leak, and it was going flat. Now, ironically, it had run flat tires on it, but it was losing air. And so he immediately took it back to the dealership, drove it through the front windows. And he took it back to the dealership, and the guy said, well, there's really nothing we can do about that. And he goes, no, you sold me the car with a cracked factory wheel. It's not a aftermarket wheel, it's not anything like that. And so he said he continued to talk about how you told me it went through the Mercedes program that checks everything, and the guy said, okay. So they replaced the wheel for him. He said within a month, the other wheel cracked. Well, now he starts looking into it, and he finds out that the 20-inch wheels from the factory with the run flat tires, because the run flat tires are so hard on the sidewalls that everything just translates through the tire right up to the wheel. And this is really common that they crack. And he said, that's when I found out, delving into the warranty, the one thing not covered under their warranty are the wheels.
Oh.
And he goes, so then it kind of took a turn, because then he said, well, so then I was driving down the turnpike and I hit a chuck hole and I cracked another wheel. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you hit a chuck hole, you know, but he blamed it on the run flats. And then he goes, and then my wife hit a curb and she cracked the other wheel. So I've gone back to stock 18-inch wheels on the car. And I was kind of like, you know, there's a difference between hitting chuck holes and curbs and just having a problem. But it goes back to, very interesting that the wheels weren't covered under the warranty. I would never buy a car that if I had any kind of wheels, they should always be covered. I mean, you know, if they install them from the factory.
You know, I haven't even heard about run flat tires in a while. Like, are we done with run flats?
They suck.
They're still out there, but they're hard as a rock.
Horrible.
Have you driven a car, Aaron?
Yeah.
They're noisy.
I've had 2 cars that had run flats on them, and I got rid of both of them. They're horrible. Just horrible.
Have you ever driven a car with cheap tires on it?
Oh, sure. Sure.
You know how they're noisy?
Yeah.
That you feel everything in the road? That's what a run flat feels like.
Yeah.
It's just...
So when Misha and I were driving Dad's Corvette back from Southern California, he asked us to drive back and put it in Marin. So we're driving it back, and, you know, top down. It's a nice day where the top's down. My only complaint with that car, it drove so nice, but I think I mentioned before, my only complaint was everybody else. It was so loud driving back. It's like, and you'd get next, you know, a lot of SUVs on the road, a lot of big trucks, and you could always tell the ones that either had poorly worn tires because they didn't rotate them properly or were often, and that causes them to get noisy, or they just had cheap tires. And boy, some of those things were deafening when you drive by, or they drive by you. Horrible road noise. So yeah, tires, cheap tires or poorly rotated tires can get really noisy.
The only people that should have run flats on their cars are guys who are going to rob a bank and are going to run from the cops, and they don't want to be able to have the flat tire spikes go out. You know,
that's why they're called run flats.
Yeah.
So the only time a run flat kept me safe was there was a massive pothole that wasn't there 2 hours ago up in Tahoe, because I had just made a loop. I was taking stuff back and forth between the house and the shop, and I was in the little Mini Cooper, the modern Mini Cooper, and on the way home the second time on a blind corner, there was a nasty pothole. I mean, I don't know how deep it was. It had to be at least 4, 5, 6 inches deep,
and the whole car fell in it.
Oh my God, the whole car fell in it. I hit that thing, and it terrified me. I had no idea what happened because I didn't see the hole. And it bent the rim, took a chip out of the rim, but it put a hole in my sidewall big enough for 4 fingers. Like I could cup 4 fingers together and put it all the way to the hand, like all the way. It was a huge hole, and it was a flap. And it got me home. I drove it home. I went, oh my God. And I called the car place and the tire shop and said, hey, and they said, oh, those are run flats. I said, yeah. They go, oh, you need all 4. I'm like, what? And then they gave me the price. And I'm like, what? Like,
there's another reason right there.
Oh my God. Like Sport Cup 2s aren't even that expensive. So I put some good sporty tires on there, and I got rid of those suckers. I had to get new wheels anyway. So I got Anki wheels and some nice tires, and we totally sported it out. But yeah, those run flats are hella expensive. But I got to say, even with a sidewall hole that big, I drove it home without any like notice almost, you know. I mean, I didn't go rallying through corners, but I was a couple miles from home and made it home just fine.
So you were able to run them flat.
Flat out.
Amazing, dude.
I was able to run it flat out.
All right.
But man, when that thing blew out, oh my God, that was scary. I'd never had a tire do that before.
Amazing. Hey, you guys got anything else to talk about?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Plenty of stuff to talk about.
Spend hours. Spend hours.
A quick little plug for Chicago.
For his tire.
No. For listen, you're coming into the holidays and the new year. We are finally launching Bravago individual flavors on the website. We're trying that out. So we've been in the stores and people have asked, they figured out which flavors they like. And if you don't want the variety set, the variety 6-pack, you can get one of the 3 individual flavors or however mix and match you want to do. Should be launching on the website. Should be available now. So try that out.
So you can get all one flavor is what you're saying.
Yeah, you can get all one flavor. You can pick a flavor. You can pick 2 flavors if you like 2 of the 3.
Okay, so it's mix and match.
There you go.
It's mix and match.
Yep, it's mix and match Bravago. I'd like to give a shout out to a nice gentleman I met in World Market. He stopped me and said, "Hey, are you Aaron Hagar?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Shift and Steer." And I went, "Oh man, it was too cool. Really nice guy."
Awesome.
Dude, I apologize. I want to say her name was Anthony. I checked with my wife. She said, "I didn't hear." And I said, "Shit." And so I apologize, my man. But thank you for listening. And thank you all for listening. It's awesome.
Awesome. And if you need cards, go check out Brad Art Basel on Etsy. We're selling a ton of them. We got our new birthday cards up. We've even got cards like, let's say you forgot to send out holiday cards. We've got some that say, "Hey, I'm late," so go check them out. And you know what? Cards aren't an old thing that just your grandparents did. They're the new hottest thing. If you don't believe me, ask me. Yeah.
That's a good one, Brad. If you don't believe me, ask me.
That's right.
That's the first time I heard you say that. That's something my dad would say. That's something my dad would say, yeah.
Hey, everybody. We'll be back next week, and that's a promise, not a threat. Thanks for listening to Shift and Steer.